As the old saying goes, when a tiger bears 4 cubs, one is destined to be an outcast. And of course, I just had to be reincarnated as that scrawny, weakest Biao. I thought for sure my mother would abandon me. I figured I'd be left all alone, constantly hiding and running from vicious beasts. But, to my surprise, I suddenly awakened the devoured to godhood system. As long as I keep eating, I can grow infinitely. Eventually, not only could I evolve into the immortal Hellfire Tiger, but I could even transform into the creator tiger god, ruling the entire universe. Just as I was daydreaming about living large, surrounded by beauties. Reaching the absolute peak of my tiger life, a low, guttural roar from my mother suddenly echoed from afar. Hearing that sound, my 3 little siblings, who were resting quietly beside me, instantly jumped up and rushed excitedly toward the noise. But I stayed glued to the spot, my face dead serious. Because Bai Yi's roar just now, it was incredibly weak. It carried a clear signal of danger and a desperate warning. So, I reacted instantly. I dashed forward and blocked their path. I drew a circle on the ground and strictly warned them not to take a single step outside of it. Then, I sprinted off alone toward the source of the sound. Soon enough, I spotted Bai Yi. She was completely surrounded by 4 white wolves, with a massive wolf king pinned tightly beneath her paws. Even though the wolf king was clinging to its last breath, Bai Yi herself was severely injured. A deep gash on her hind leg was bleeding profusely. It looked like she couldn't even move anymore. But even so, those 4 silver wolves just kept circling her, refusing to strike directly. After all, if they forced a reckless attack, it would probably end in mutual destruction. But wolves are notoriously cunning creatures. There was no way they'd do something that stupid. Sure enough, they suddenly scattered, but they left 2 wolves right in front to keep Bai Yi distracted. The other 2 silently slipped away. One kept its eyes locked on her flank, while the last one had already sneaked up right behind her. This was clearly a highly coordinated tactic. They were just waiting for the perfect opening. And just as I expected, New Alpha tilted its head back and howled. Immediately, the 2 wolves in front launched a probing attack. They kept lunging forward, only to swiftly jump back out of reach. But hey, a dying tiger still has its claws. Even with her hind leg heavily injured, Bai Yi still managed to brutally swat away an advancing wolf with a single powerful swipe. Right then, I finally saw through their plan. They were using hit-and-run tactics to completely drain Bai Yi's stamina, just to create an opening for that sneaky bastard hiding in the shadows to strike. Sure enough, as time dragged on, Bai Yi's movements began to slow down. Taking the chance, the wolf in the back lunged for a sneak attack. Bai Yi had actually sensed the deadly threat behind her all along. But who would have thought, the moment she twisted her waist to turn around, a bone-piercing agony shot up from her wounded leg. She instantly stumbled, freezing completely in her tracks. In that life or death moment, I threw myself out of the bushes. I slammed my entire body straight into the silver wolf's waist. They say wolves have copper heads and iron bones, but tofu for waists. Taking the full brunt of my charge, that wolf was sent violently flying sideways through the air, crashed to the ground, completely unable to get back up. Bai Yi and the other 3 wolves were absolutely stunned. They were clearly completely blindsided by what just happened. When Bai Yi finally realized it was me, a flash of joy crossed her eyes, quickly followed by absolute panic. Wang Sai, what are you doing here? Run, get out of here. I won't make it out of this alive today, but our bloodline cannot end here. You have to live. But instead of running, I just turned my back to her. I dashed straight toward the lifeless wolf king on the ground, and viciously sank my teeth into its corpse. As I furiously chewed, I couldn't help but roll my eyes in my mind. Give me a break, will you? I'm nothing but a defenseless little cub. Without a mother around, I wouldn't even last a day out here. Besides, since I've been reincarnated as a tiger in this life, Bai Yi and those 3 little furballs are my family now. I can't just stand by and watch my family fall right in front of me. I won't do it. The very moment I swallowed the flesh and blood of the old wolf king, a familiar voice instantly echoed in my mind. Host energy at maximum capacity detected. Commencing evolution. The moment the voice faded, a wave of scorching energy surged through every bone and fiber of my being. The next second, my tiger body suddenly swelled by 1/3. Seeing this bizarre scene, the wolf pack was instantly scared out of their wits, stumbling backward in sheer terror. Even the silver wolf I had just headbutted away forgot all about his agonizing pain, and desperately scrambled away to escape. Facing the new wolf king right in front of me, I let out an earth-shattering roar. That supreme majesty, belonging only to the king of beasts, shook him so hard he trembled like a leaf. The new wolf king tucked his tail and bolted. But I didn't chase after him, and the reason was pretty simple. If an alpha wolf in his prime fought back to the death, even if I won, I'd get badly hurt. Suddenly, the system beeped. High threat enemy detected. Proceed to investigate? I froze for a second, then chose yes. What's wrong? Are there more enemies around? Seeing me staring off into space, Bai Yi asked softly, her voice full of worry. I just made up some random excuse, saying I had to go take a leak. Bai Yi, still worried, kept looking back at me as she walked away. Following the system's tracker, I crept forward. After pushing through a patch of thick bushes, I was absolutely stunned. Beside the mountain stream sat a run-down shack. Hanging outside were several animal pelts, and one of them was unmistakably an adult tiger pelt. The fur was still steaming, obviously skinned not too long ago. Right in front of the shack sat two poachers. Next to them rested two hunting rifles, the barrels gleaming coldly in the moonlight. One of them was sharpening his knife, while the other was picking his teeth with a dagger. I hid in the tall grass, holding my breath. Just how much blood did these two bastards have on their hands? But what really made my blood boil was the pile of bear traps sitting in the corner of the shack. That's exactly the kind of trap that crushed Bai Yi's leg. I fought down the urge to charge out there. Calm down, calm down. Now is not the time for a suicide mission. They have guns. My flesh and bone just can't take bullets. I waited until I was absolutely sure there was no one else around, then quietly backed away. On the way back, only one thought kept looping in my mind. I have to get everyone out of this area, right now. By the time I got back to the den, it was almost dawn. She looked up at me, her eyes full of questions. I knew she was waiting for an explanation. Using my claws, I sketched a fire stick in the dirt, and drew how it could kill an adult tiger from 100 meters away. At first, Bai Yi just let out a dismissive huff. But when she realized the sheer destructive power of it, her fur instantly stood on end. She remembered seeing these exact weapons before. That's exactly how her previous mate had died. Bai Yi had watched with her own eyes as her mate collapsed in a pool of blood. A tiny hole just kept pouring out blood, and no matter how much she licked it, the bleeding just wouldn't stop. In the end, that strong, prime male tiger just died right there. Bai Yi lay beside his body, licking him for a whole day, until the scent of decay forced her to leave. Ever since that day, she would take a huge detour the second she caught the scent of a human. And yet, she still ended up stepping right into their trap this time. I let out a heavy sigh, and gently rubbed my head against hers, telling her not to be afraid. As long as I'm here, no one is going to lay a finger on you. Bai Yi gave a weak smile, gently nudging me with her nose. You probably think I'm too weak and useless, huh? Hey, don't look down on this tiger. I'm the man who's gonna become the tiger god. Wait, no, the male tiger. Bai Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry at my nonsense. But the fear in his eyes definitely faded a bit. I took the chance to discuss our next move with him. We have to get your mobility back within 7 days. Then the whole family is getting out of here. Bai Yi just looked at the wound on his hind leg and shook his head, clearly thinking it wouldn't heal even in half a month. Don't you worry, I'll figure something out. It's just finding some bone-healing herbs, right? I'm going to look for them right now. But who would have thought? Medicinal herbs were incredibly scarce in these woods. I sniffed and pawed my way all along the mountain stream. Suddenly, the system let out a ding. Wild ginseng discovered. I pushed the tall grass aside following the prompt, and sure enough, there it was, a ginseng plant. This stuff is the ultimate health booster. Then, the system popped up a detailed description. Host consumption grants 500 evolution points. However, ordinary tigers will experience physical discomfort if consumed. I froze right there on the spot. Are you kidding me? A deal this good? Without a second thought, I clamped my jaws around that ginseng and swallowed it whole, dirt, roots, and all. The next second, a surge of heat exploded inside my body. The system chimed as my evolution points skyrocketed, and a brand new skill popped up. I was so thrilled I almost spun around in circles. This skill was practically tailor-made for me. Now I'd never have to worry about picking poisonous weeds again. I quickly activated the skill. I sniffed around the plants nearby, and instantly, everything glowed in different colors. Green meant safe, and red meant toxic. And gold meant it had a special effect for tigers. That's when I realized, the ginseng I just ate? It was glowing a dazzling gold in my new vision. Oh boy, this system is getting sweeter by the minute. I started frantically searching for more golden plants. I quickly found some astragalus and angelica roots, and scarfed them all down for those sweet evolution points. The system's notification bells were ringing non-stop. In just one night, I had racked up over 2,000 points. I smugly calculated how great of a deal this was. Hunting for meat took half the day, and only gave me a few dozen points. Foraging for herbs was literally like picking up free money off the ground. But of course, my happiness was short-lived. Just as I was running back with a fresh reishi mushroom in my mouth, my stomach suddenly started doing backflips. The system flashed a bright red warning. Excessive intake of warming herbs cannot be fully absorbed. Recommendation: spend evolution points to neutralize the effects. Otherwise, severe diarrhea will occur for 3 days. Are you freaking screwing with me? Why didn't you tell me that earlier? I had no choice but to grit my teeth and spend 200 evolution points. Only then did the awful cramping slowly fade away. I guess the system doesn't hand out free lunches after all. I seriously need to learn some self-control. By the time I made it back to our den, the sun was already fully up. Bai Yi was out sunbathing with the 3 little cubs. That little goofball, Bai Yu, was busy chasing his own tail again, while Bai Ming and Bai Fan were making silly bets in the dirt. I dropped the reishi mushroom right in front of Bai Yi, nudging him to eat it and heal his wounds. Bai Yi gave it a sniff and immediately scrunched up his nose. The smell was way too strong for him, and he clearly doubted it would even work. Just eat it, okay? I promise you it's not poisonous. Still half in disbelief, Bai Yi gulped down the mushroom. We waited for what felt like forever. Well, he didn't have any bad reactions, but his wound wasn't exactly healing any faster either. The system chimed again. Ordinary tigers cannot directly absorb the medicinal properties. Additional treatment measures are required. Great, another massive headache to deal with. Looks like herbs alone won't cut it. I need to make sure Zia gets plenty of rest and eats a lot more. I was just getting ready to head out and hunt when the system suddenly chimed again. The voice was completely different this time. It had this icy, metallic ring to it. Another system host detected. Target level: unknown. Faction: hostile or unknown. My fur instantly bristled. What the hell? There's another system out there? I stayed low, scanning my surroundings. Suddenly, a red dot popped up in my skill vision. It was closing in fast, about 300 meters away. I quickly told Zia to take the cubs and hide in the rocky crevices, while I silently crept forward to meet it head-on. After slipping through a thick patch of woods, I finally spotted the figure. It was a pure white female tiger cub, slightly smaller than me. But her presence was absolutely terrifying. A faint, golden aura was swirling all around her body. Through my skill vision, she glowed a violent, blood-red hue. Those glowing golden eyes stared at me dead in the face. There was absolutely none of the innocence a cub should have in that gaze. Instead, it was a cold, jaded stare that had seen lifetimes of hardship. We just stood there, locking eyes for what felt like a dozen seconds. Neither of us made a move. My mind was racing, frantically checking the system. Just who the heck was this tigress? Was her system the same as mine? Right then, another prompt popped up. Ancient white tiger bloodline detected. Target has awakened the Heaven and Earth legacy system. Shares the same origin as the host system, but belongs to a different branch. I froze on the spot. The Heaven and Earth legacy system? Man, that name sounds way more advanced than mine. The white tigress let out a low growl. Her voice carried an absolute, undeniable authority. The crazy part was, I could actually understand her. She called herself Shuiji. She claimed that in her past life, she was the White Fox Empress who ruled over thousands of miles of the mountains, until she was ambushed and killed by her sworn enemy, the nine-headed serpent emperor. Now, she was reborn with her memories in a system. She only came over because she sensed the presence of someone like her. I almost burst out laughing when I heard that. Like, come on. That story is way too ridiculous. A reborn empress? Why don't you just claim you're the Jade Emperor while you're at it? Shuiji coldly took a step toward me. Her attitude basically screamed, believe it or don't, I don't care. She was only here to confirm one thing: whether I had been in contact with humans. I stared at her, totally on guard, and kept my mouth shut. Shuiji let out another low growl. making her point clear. Something that shouldn't be here had entered our forest. There was something far more terrifying backing those poachers. Cooperate, or die, make your choice. I actually laughed out of pure anger at her absolute arrogance. I mean, how much power could a grown tigress even have, anyway? But without another word, Shuiji moved. She suddenly leapt up and smacked me right across the face, sending me flying 3 meters back. By the time I scrambled back to my feet, she was still standing in the exact same spot. She hadn't even changed her posture. That kind of speed and power was definitely not something a cub should have. I touched the claw marks on my face and sighed. Fine, this crazy tigress actually had some real skills. So, how exactly are we cooperating? Shuiji signaled for me to take her to the injured one first. I hesitated for a second, but I ended up leading her back anyway. The moment Zie saw Shuiji, she clearly tensed up. 3 little cubs were so terrified they huddled together in a tight ball. Shuiji walked straight up to Zie. She took a sniff of the wound and immediately figured out it was from a bear trap. And an old one at that. She looked up, shot me a glance, and said, "She got lucky. It didn't snap the bone." Right after that, Shuiji let out a huff and turned away, signaling me to follow her to find the best herbs. I looked back at Bai Yi, and he gave me a nod, telling me to go ahead. So, I followed right behind Shuiji. We pushed through the dense forest, finally arriving at a hidden mountain ravine. The place was overflowing with all sorts of glowing plants. In my system's vision, everything was a brilliant sea of gold. My jaw practically dropped to the floor. How on earth did she find this place? Without even looking back, Shuiji stated, "This used to be my turf in my past life." I knew that, of course. I was just about to ask her something else, when the system suddenly blared a piercing alarm. Warning, high energy reaction detected. Distance, 50 meters from current location. Direction, straight ahead. I followed the prompt and looked over. Right in the middle of a deep pool in the ravine, grew a fully glowing Lingzi mushroom. The light it gave off in my skill vision was as blinding as the sun. Shuiji noticed the mushroom too. Her pupils instantly shrank into slits. She clearly recognized what this thing was. It was a 9-turn jade Lingzi. She couldn't believe it was still alive. I was just about to ask her what a 9-turn jade Lingzi was, when the system popped up a notification that made my blood boil. Consuming the 9-turn jade Lingzi unlocks the shape-shifting ability. Prerequisites met. My heart was pounding like crazy. It practically leapt out of my throat. Shape-shifting? Like the legendary kind where a tiger turns into a demon spirit. I used to fantasize about this all the time watching Journey to the West in my past life. I never imagined I'd actually get to experience it in this life. Shuiji saw me staring blankly at the mushroom, and gave me a shove with her paw. She was signaling me to snap out of it. She warned me that there was definitely a guardian beast. In her past life, she had seen a giant python guarding this exact thing with her own eyes. I snapped back to reality, staring warily at the water. The surface was way too calm, which only made it feel even creepier. Down in my system's vision, there was a massive red dot right below the pool. The red was so dark it was almost pitch black. This was clearly some high-level boss. I shot Shuiji a look, and she gave me a firm nod. So, the two of us flanked it from the left and the right. Just as we reached the edge of the water suddenly exploded. A massive python, thick as a barrel, shot out from underneath. The beast was pitch black from head to tail, its scales gleaming with an icy, terrifying light. Just the part sticking out of the water was over 3 meters long. And its 2 fangs? Easily as long as my tiger paws. Its tongue flicked in and out, reeking of a sickening, bloody stench. The system flashed a warning. Mutated black-scaled python. Level 12. I nearly cursed out loud right then and there. Crap, I was only level 5. Wasn't this just freaking suicide? But who would have thought Shuiji was even more hardcore than me? Without a second thought, she lunged straight at it. She slammed her paw brutally right into the python's weak spot. The giant beast writhed in agonizing pain, its massive tail whipping around with a roaring gust of wind. I quickly ducked my head, dodging the strike. Shuiji took the hit from the tail head on, but she didn't budge an inch. She whipped her head around and glared at me. "Well, are you gonna attack or what?" Gritting my teeth, I lunged at the snake's head from the side. I swung my tiger paws, raining a brutal beatdown right on its eyes. The giant python hissed in pain, opening its bloody, gaping maw to bite me. I nimbly leapt backward, dodging the attack. Shui Ji took the chance to land another vicious strike on its weak spot. That single swipe ripped right through its scales, tearing into raw flesh. The python writhed like a maniac in absolute agony, wildly thrashing its tail. The entire pool was completely flipped upside down in the chaos. Shui Ji and I were getting perfectly in sync. She went for the weak spots while I kept it distracted. We beat that massive beast until it couldn't even fight back. In less than 5 minutes, the damn thing went belly up. The system notifications started chiming like crazy. Killed mutant black-scaled python. Earned 1,000 evolution points. Collapsed on the ground, gasping for air, but Shui Ji looked completely unfazed. She strolled over to the giant carcass and tore open its belly. She pulled out an emerald green orb. The system identified it as the serpent gall essence. Eating it would boost physical stats. Shui Ji tossed the orb right at me, signaling for me to eat it. I froze for a second. "Why don't you want it?" I asked. She just shot me an icy glare, making it clear she didn't need it. Still skeptical, I gulped the orb down. Soothing chill slid down my throat into my stomach. The system chimed, physique permanently increased by 10%. Man, this is some seriously good stuff. While I was happily soaking in the rush of the upgrade, Shui Ji was already back on shore, carrying the 9-turn jade mushroom in her mouth. She snapped it in two and nudged half over to me. I stared at her, totally confused. "Wait, I thought you didn't want any?" "I actually need this one," she replied. Well, at least this tigress was being reasonable. We both swallowed our halves. Instantly, a wave of scalding energy exploded inside me. The system rang out. Shapeshifting feature will unlock in 72 hours. Bonus of 3,000 evolution points awarded. Beside me, Shui Ji was glowing with a brilliant golden light. I could even faintly hear her own system notifications chiming. The two of us just lay there by the pool, absorbing the medicine's power. We didn't move a single muscle for the entire afternoon. It wasn't until the sun started setting that I finally opened my eyes. My whole body was surging with limitless power. I took a test swipe with my paw, and smashed a nearby boulder into absolute pieces. Shui Ji woke up right after. She looked me up and down, and for once, there was a hint of actual respect in her eyes. "Your potential isn't entirely garbage," she muttered. I rolled my eyes at her. "Yeah, right back at you." We grabbed the leftover python meat and headed back to the den. When Bai Yi saw we had made it back in one piece, she let out a massive sigh of relief. The 3 little cubs caught the scent of the meat, and immediately swarmed us. That greedy little idiot pushed his way right to the front. I lightly swatted him away, making sure Bai Yi got the first bite. But Bai Yi just smiled and shook her head, insisting the cubs eat first. I let out a heavy sigh and tore off the most tender strips of meat for her. Shui Ji just stood on the sidelines, watching coldly in silence. The tension in the air was suddenly pretty awkward. Bai Yi, however, was a total sweetheart and warmly invited Shui Ji to join us. Shui Ji hesitated for a second, but eventually patted over. 5 female tigers, and then there's me, the only guy. No matter how you look at it, it was a weird family dynamic. Anyway, after we finished eating, I decided to head out into the night to gather more herbs. Bai Yi's injuries couldn't wait any longer. Shui Ji said she was coming with me, and Bai Yi gave us a nod, telling us to be careful out there. So, Shui Ji and I slipped back into the darkness. My skill vision lit up the forest with glowing golden dots everywhere. I was in charge of tracking them down, while Shui Ji handled identifying their properties. Her past life experience was seriously coming in handy. There were some plants the system had clearly marked as safe, but she'd immediately warned me they were toxic and not to touch them. And then there were other herbs the system didn't even recognize. Instead, she called it a miracle cure. I took a bite of the ordinary herb she recommended. Sure enough, the system notification popped up showing I gained evolution points, and I even got an extra buff. Called Blood Invigoration. Man, this tigress is literally a walking pharmacy. I couldn't help but ask if she'd studied medicine in a past life. Turns out, it was just experience from eating them. I figured that made sense. Practice makes perfect, right? Our teamwork was getting better and better. She gathered exactly what I pointed at. Our efficiency was crazy high. In just 2 hours, we collected a huge pile of the anti-inflammatory herbs Bai Yi needed. We had everything. Just as we were heading back, Shui Ji suddenly stopped in her tracks. Her ears twitched. Then, I heard it too, a series of heavy footsteps. The sound was coming from deep within the forest, making the ground tremble slightly with every step. System skill activated. A yellow dot appeared in my line of sight. It was even bigger than black scale. Shui Ji muttered in a low voice. It's an adult black bear. And something isn't right with it. I took a closer look. Sure enough, the bear's eyes were glowing blood red, and drool was dripping from its mouth. It looked completely deranged. The system warned me that the bear was infected with some kind of toxin, putting it in a completely berserk state. This is extremely dangerous. Let's just go around it, and not ask for any trouble. But Shui Ji just shook her head. She signaled that it was too late. The bear had already caught our scent. It was charging madly right at us, smashing down several small trees in its path. It was coming in hot. I sighed and said, "Alright, let's do this then." Shui Ji charged right at it without a second thought. She didn't take it head on this time. Instead, she threw a feint, dodged to the bear's side, and delivered a vicious swipe right to its waist. The black bear roared in pain, spinning around to swing its massive paw. Shui Ji nimbly leapt back, dodging the attack. The bear's paw smashed into the ground, leaving a deep crater. I took the chance to pounce from behind, sinking my teeth into its leg. The bear tried to shake me off but couldn't get any leverage. Shui Ji circled to the front to draw its attention. Caught in our pincer attack, the bear panicked. Shui Ji seized the opening and slammed her paw right into its face. That strike instantly blinded one of its eyes. Agonized, the bear thrashed around blindly, running wildly in every direction. Shui Ji chased it down, landing a flurry of heavy strikes. In just 3 moves, she knocked the beast right into the dirt. The bear struggled, desperately trying to get back up, but Shui Ji locked her jaws onto its windpipe, refusing to let go. In less than a minute, the berserk black bear breathed its last. I just stared at her, completely dumbfounded. This tigress was absolutely savage. Shui Ji finally let go of its neck, and shot me an icy glare. That look was clearly saying, "What are you staring at? Hurry up and grab the loot." I immediately scrambled over like a good little sidekick to harvest the meat, muttering to myself that this tigress was even more ruthless than I was. The system notified me as I packed up half the meat to take back. Killed berserk black bear, gained 800 evolution points. The system notified me again as I packed up the other half of the meat. No need, I don't eat that kind of stuff. Then what do you eat? Spirit herbs are enough for me. Turns out, this fierce tigress was actually a vegetarian. We headed back, each carrying our share of the loot. By the time we reached the den, Bai Yi had already fallen asleep. The 3 little cubs were huddled against his chest, snoring away. I placed the herbs down next to him, crushed them up with a stone, and gently applied them to his wounds. Bai Yi flinched from the pain, but didn't wake up. Shui Ji watched silently from the side. After treating my wounds, I lay down on the ground to rest. Shui Ji lay down right next to me too. This tigress actually smelled pretty good. She had this faint scent of herbs. "Did you have a mate in your past life?" I asked her tentatively. She just gave me a cold look and didn't say a word. I knew better than to push it, so I kept my mouth shut. But who would have thought that in the middle of the night, Shui Ji suddenly got burning hot all over, like she was on fire. It scared the crap out of me. I hurried over to check on her. The system popped up an alert. Target evolution detected. The energy pulsing inside her was getting more and more violent. Shui Ji collapsed weakly into my arms. Her whole body was trembling. She used every last ounce of her strength to let out a low growl at me. The message was loud and clear. Stand guard and don't let anything get close. She also warned that if that thing sensed us right now, we'd both die right here. My ears shot up nervously as I looked around. Thankfully, my skill vision didn't show any red dots yet. But what the heck was that thing Shui Ji was talking about? What could possibly scare her this much? Time ticked by, second by second. Shui Ji's body temperature just kept rising. I could feel the scorching heat radiating from under her fur. Her breathing was getting heavier and heavier. Her claws were blindly scratching at the ground. I shielded her with my own body, blocking out the biting cold of the night wind. But right at that moment, a deafening roar suddenly ripped through the distance. That sound, it wasn't a wolf. It wasn't a bear, either. It was a terrifying screech I had never heard before in my life. It was deep and heavy, carrying this eerie, piercing echo that felt like it could shatter your very soul. Right then, the system blared a piercing alarm. Warning, unknown high-energy creature detected. Level unaccessible. Distance, approximately 2,000 meters. Immediate evacuation recommended. Every single hair on my body instantly stood on end. Even the system couldn't read its level? What the hell kind of monster was this? Shuiji was trembling even harder in my arms now. Her eyes were squeezed shut tight. She was right at the critical point of her evolution. She couldn't move an inch. I stared in the direction of the sound. It was coming from deep within the pitch-black forest. Out there in the dark, it felt like something was staring right at us. A cold shiver crept up my spine and spread through my whole body. I took a deep breath and pushed down the fear in my chest. I didn't care what that thing was. If it came anywhere near us, I'd fight it to the death. Behind me was the injured Zie and the 3 cubs. And in my arms was the evolving Shuiji. This whole family was counting on me. There was no way in hell I was backing down now. The roar echoed out again from the distance. This time, it was even closer than before. The system alarm was blaring frantically. I gritted my teeth and dropped into a fighting stance. In my skill vision, that red dot was glowing brighter and brighter. The damn thing was actually heading straight for us. Shuiji must have sensed the danger. Because her evolution suddenly sped up. Her entire body erupted in a blinding golden light. It was so hot it was literally singeing my fur, but I held onto her for dear life and refused to let go. She couldn't be interrupted now. If she was, all this effort would be completely wasted. And she could even lose her life. The roaring in the distance was getting closer and closer. I could already see the treetops shaking at the edge of the dense forest. Whatever this thing was, it was at least as massive as a black bear. My heart was pounding in my throat, just as that thing was about to burst out of the woods. Shuiji suddenly snapped her eyes open. The golden light around her exploded outward. She vaulted straight out of my arms, and by the time she hit the ground, she had grown a full size larger. The glow on his fur turned a pale gold, and his eyes looked like they held swirling stars. He glared coldly toward the dense forest, letting out a low, rumbling roar. That roar carried the innate, crushing pressure of an absolute king. The rustling in the woods suddenly stopped. That thing seemed to hesitate for a second. Then its footsteps started fading away. The system alarm shut off right after. I let out a massive sigh of relief, plopping down on the ground, almost completely drained. Shuiji glanced back at me, her eyes holding a flicker of something I couldn't quite read. Guess you're not totally useless. Then she walked right past me and laid down to rest. Only then did I notice the fur on my front leg was completely scorched. I winced from the pain, but honestly, I felt a weird, unexplainable warmth inside. Was that tigress actually thanking me just now? But looking at her icy face, she'd probably rather die than admit it. I gently licked my burnt fur. Spent some evolution points to heal up, going over everything that went down tonight in my head. From picking herbs to killing that snake, fighting a black bear, and now standing guard. This single day was wilder than an entire month in my past life. I could hear that idiot Bai Yi mumbling in his sleep nearby. The little guy rolled over, and just kept snoring away, completely clueless about what almost just happened to us. I let out a sigh, and wrapped my tail around the 3 little cubs to pull them close. Then, I settled down right between Shuiji and Bai Yi, and closed my eyes. Tomorrow, I still have to heal Bai Yi, and somehow figure out what that creepy monster was. Plus, I've got to watch out for those 2 poachers. Just thinking about all this crap gives me a massive headache. But hey, I'm the only man of the house now. I've got to carry this family, even if it kills me. As the night grew darker, the forest finally went dead quiet. But deep down, I knew. The real storm hadn't even hit us yet. You just can't hide from fate. Right when I was drifting off to sleep, that terrifying roar echoed out again. Only this time, it was way closer. And a lot clearer. My eyes snapped wide open. My ears shot up as the system alarm started blaring again. Warning, unknown creature approaching at high speed. Distance, approximately 1,000 meters. It was moving insanely fast. Shuiji was still in the middle of her evolution, shivering all over. Bai Yi jerked awake from the noise, looking around in total panic. 3 cubs were huddled together, absolutely terrified. I took a deep breath and forced myself to stand. Bring it on. I told Bai Yi to take the cubs and hide deep inside the rocky crevice. Then, I headed out alone, straight toward the sound. Shuiji let out a low growl from behind me. She was definitely telling me to be careful. I didn't even look back, just gave my tail a confident flick. Pushing through a thick patch of bushes, I finally saw it. A massive, 3-meter-long giant lizard. Its whole body was covered in thick, dark red scales. Its legs were as thick as tree trunks, and its tail was even longer than my entire body. Thick, nasty drool kept dripping from its jaws, and the second it hit the ground, it literally sizzled and smoked. The system flashed a warning. Mutated Titan Lizard. Level 10, current host level 5. I almost tripped over my own paws. It's level 10 and I'm only level 5? Are you kidding me? That's totally rigged. The giant lizard had already locked eyes on me. It opened its massive jaws and let out a deafening screech. The sound was like metal grinding against metal, so painfully sharp. I didn't even think twice. I turned tail and bolted. I'm not being a coward, okay? I just needed better terrain. Going head to head with my tiny frame was pure suicide. The lizard chased right on my heels. It might be huge, but its speed is absolutely terrifying. I'm dodging left and right, squeezing through the narrowest gaps I can find. The giant lizard is just smashing right through the small trees. But its scales are so damn thick. I can't even scratch it. My mind is racing. I have to use the terrain to my advantage. There's a pile of jagged rocks up ahead. I put on a burst of speed and dash straight for it. I leap onto a massive boulder, and the lizard climbs right up after me. But the rock can't handle its sheer weight. With a massive crash, the whole thing collapses. The beast is pinned under the rubble, thrashing around. This is my chance. I pounce immediately, aiming a brutal swipe right at its eyes. The lizard thrashes its head in agony, and its massive tail comes sweeping right at me. I can't dodge in time. The blow catches my side, and I go flying, slamming hard into a tree. The pain is blinding. I'm seeing stars, barely able to catch my breath. Without a second thought, I turn and run, consuming 50 evolution points, quickly heal my wounds and scramble back to my feet. But the lizard has already broken free from the rocks. Its eyes are bloodshot as it charges right at me. I grit my teeth and lunge at it again. I'm playing it smart this time. No head-on clashes. I'm strictly targeting its joints and eyes. But this monster's defense is absolutely insane. My tiger claws just leave a few white scratch marks on its scales. Meanwhile, one casual hit from it nearly takes half my life. After a few brutal rounds, I'm covered in gashes. The system warns me. Healing these wounds just cost 200 evolution points. My heart bleeds at the cost, but I don't have a choice. The lizard is fighting more fiercely by the second. It's like it never gets tired. I'm backed right up to the edge of a cliff. Behind me is a steep drop of over 10 meters. The lizard opens its massive jaws and lunges. I instantly duck down, sliding right under its belly, and fiercely slashing open its gut with my claws. Put absolutely everything into that strike. I managed to rip a huge gash in the beast's stomach. Dark green blood sprays all over me. It tilts its head back and roars in absolute agony. It goes into a completely blind rampage. I take the chance to slip right behind it, and sink my teeth deep into the base of its tail. The scales are the thinnest right there. I clamp my jaw shut and refuse to let go, tearing at it like crazy. The lizard tries to turn around and bite me, but it just can't reach. It thrashes its tail wildly. I'm getting whipped and tossed all over the place. But I am not letting go. My teeth are buried deep into its flesh. The taste of blood fills my mouth. The lizard is finally panicking. It starts sprinting forward, desperately trying to shake me off. But my grip is like a vice. It's dragging me along, smashing blindly through the forest. Branches and rocks are tearing my body to shreds. The system keeps draining evolution points just to heal the ongoing damage. I watch helplessly as my points drop from 2,000, down to 1,000, and then to 500. I grit my teeth and hold on for dear life. If I let go now, all of this was for nothing. Just when my points hit 300, the beast finally runs out of steam and slows down. I seize the moment, and violently rip a massive chunk right off its tail. The lizard collapses to the ground, twitching in sheer pain. I instantly leap onto its back, and unleash a brutal barrage of strikes right on the back of its head. 1 hit, 2 hits, 3 hits. Every single strike connects with a sickening crunch. I completely shatter the monster's skull. It twitches a few more times, and finally goes completely still. Then, the system chimes in. Mutated Titan Monitor Lizard killed. Reward: 1,500 evolution points. Current level increased to level 6. I collapsed onto the giant lizard's carcass, gasping for air. My whole body ached like it had been smashed to pieces. That was a brutal fight. I burned through 2/3 of my evolution points just to survive. But hey, a win is a win. And I even leveled up. Just as I was about to catch my breath, I heard footsteps creeping up from behind. I snapped my head around, completely on edge. It was just Shui Ji. She had finished her evolution. Her size had absolutely exploded, making her almost as huge as me now. Her fur glowed with a faint, beautiful shimmer, and those eyes of hers looked way deeper and more intense than before. She trotted right up to me and leaned down, gently checking out my gashes. She licked the blood off my face, a quick flash of worry softening her gaze. But, of course, she had to play it cool. "Don't get the wrong idea," she muttered. "If you die, I'm down a sidekick." I just rolled my eyes at her. I didn't even bother calling her bluff. This fierce tigress was all bark and no bite when it came to her feelings. After patching me up, Shui Ji dragged the lizard's carcass over so I could eat. I tore off a few chunks of meat to get my strength back. A system notification popped up. My evolution points had just jumped by 300. I checked my stats, level 6, with 1,200 evolution points. I only needed 800 more to hit the next level. Honestly, my leveling speed wasn't too shabby. We dragged our loot back to the den. When Bai Yi saw me completely covered in gashes, he completely freaked out. He rushed right over, frantically licking my wounds to soothe the pain. The 3 little cubs swarmed me too, lovingly nuzzling against my fur. I just soaked in this rare, heartwarming moment. My mind, though, was racing about our next move. Bai Yi's injuries had mostly healed up after resting for the past few days. He could finally walk well enough on his own. I made the call right then and there. We were moving out, immediately. We couldn't afford to wait around anymore. Those 2 poachers could track us down to this spot at any second. Shui Ji told us about a secure valley, a hidden sanctuary she remembered from her past life. It was completely surrounded by water, with only one secret passage leading inside. Super easy to defend and incredibly tough to attack. It was the absolute perfect hideout. Bai Yi nodded in agreement. I gently scooped up little Bai Yu in my jaws. Shui Ji grabbed Bai Ming and Bai Yu, while Bai Yi carried Bai Fan. Our family of 6 slipped away under the cover of darkness, with Shui Ji leading the charge up ahead. I guarded the rear as we pushed through the thick woods and splashed across the freezing streams. We kept pushing straight toward the valley. After trekking for about 2 hours, a wide clearing opened up right in front of us. Shui Ji suddenly signaled for everyone to halt. She had caught the stench of humans. I pricked up my ears, straining to listen closely. Sure enough, I could hear hushed voices in the distance. Then, the system chimed in again. Human activity detected. Distance is roughly 200 meters. 2 targets armed with firearms. My heart instantly leapt right into my throat. Those damn poachers were right on top of us. Bai Yi frantically huddled over the cubs to shield them. I quickly signaled him to freeze and stay absolutely dead silent. But wouldn't you know it, that little idiot Bai Yu let out a sudden sneeze. It wasn't loud at all, but in the dead of the night, it echoed perfectly clearly. Almost instantly, a harsh voice barked from the darkness. "Who is out there?" followed right by the terrifying click of a rifle bolt sliding back. "Oh, screw this," I cursed in my head. But Shui Ji was lightning fast. With one swift swipe of her tail, she shoved all 3 cubs deep into the bushes. She locked eyes with me, giving me a sharp, urgent look. "Split up, we need to draw them away." I gave a quick nod. We burst out of cover at the exact same time, sprinting off in totally opposite directions. It worked perfectly. The poachers took the bait, and one of them was tearing through the woods right on my tail. The other poacher went after Shui Ji. I scrambled on all 4s and ran for my life. The footsteps behind me were getting closer and closer. Suddenly, bang, a gunshot rang out. The bullet grazed right past my ear. It burned like crazy. I quickly picked up speed, dodging left and right, but that poacher stuck to me like glue. I just couldn't shake him off. His flashlight beamed right on me, leaving me absolutely nowhere to hide. And the system warned, dead end ahead. I looked, and sure enough, it was a steep cliff. Oh no, I'm completely cornered now. The poacher slowly closed in with his gun raised, cursing and muttering that he'd skin me alive once he caught me. I was sweating bullets in sheer panic, but right at that moment, ding, the system suddenly chimed. New skill unlocked. Environmental mimicry. Cost, 100 evolution points. Blends your fur seamlessly with the surroundings. Duration, 5 minutes. Would you like to activate? I didn't even hesitate and hit activate. The very next second, my fur started changing color. From bright orange, to the pale yellow of dry grass, and then to the brown of dirt. My whole body basically melted into the ground. The poacher walked right up to me, and shined his flashlight around. He was standing right in front of me, but it was like he went completely blind. He couldn't see me at all. He scratched his head in confusion, muttered something under his breath, then turned around and walked back. I waited until he was far enough away, then quickly turned off the mimicry, and bolted in the exact opposite direction. I sprinted for hundreds of meters in one breath before I finally dared to stop. System notification. Mimicry consumed 100 evolution points. 1,100 points remaining. I was panting heavily, thinking to myself, wow, this skill is way too useful. It's literally a lifesaver. I took a massive detour back to our meeting point. Shueiji was already there, waiting with Baya and the cubs. They breathed a massive sigh of relief when they saw me come back safe and sound. Baya nervously licked my face, while the 3 little cubs crowded around, nuzzling affectionately against me. I quickly did a head count of the tigers. Everyone was here, not a single one missing. Let's get out of here, I urged. We can't let them catch up. Shueiji nodded and took the lead again. We were extra careful this time, sticking strictly to hidden, narrow trails. After trekking for about another hour, a misty valley appeared right in front of us. This is it, Shueiji whispered. I carefully scanned the valley. It was completely surrounded by steep, rocky cliffs. There was only one narrow passageway to get inside. Right in the middle of the valley sat a tiny lake. The water was crystal clear, and the shores were totally overgrown with all kinds of wild herbs and fruit trees. Through my system's skill vision, the whole place glowed golden. This spot was an absolute paradise. I let out an excited cry. Baya nodded in pure satisfaction too. The 3 little cubs were already running around, playing and having a blast. Just as I was looking for a good spot to settle down, I casually tapped on my evolution points out of habit, and suddenly noticed a brand new tab on the system interface. System Shop, 1% unlocked, unlock condition, kill mutated creatures or human poachers. I froze completely. I clicked into it, completely bewildered. Wait, when did this even unlock? Inside the shop, there was only one grayed out icon. I could just barely make out the shape. It looked like a pair of wings. Right underneath, the unlock condition said unknown. While I was still puzzling over it, Shueiji somehow seemed able to see my system panel. She only took one look at it, and her pupils instantly shrank. Her entire body froze stiff. I looked at her in confusion. She just stared at that wing icon for the longest time. Then, in absolute disbelief, she muttered, "It took me 3 years to unlock this shop in my past life. How is it showing up now? The real storm hasn't even started yet." But life in the valley was actually peaceful for a few days. I ate like crazy every day, hoarding evolution points. Venison, rabbit, I didn't even spare the fish. The system notifications kept dinging non-stop. My evolution points shot up from 800 to 2,000. But that was still a long way from 50,000. So, I switched up my strategy. I mixed herbs into the meat and fed it to Bai Yi and the cubs. Bai Yi ate the blood-healing herbs, and her wounds closed up fast. 3 little furballs ate the strength-boosting herbs and got noticeably beefier than before. That little dummy Bai Yu could actually smash a small rock with one paw. Bai Ming and Bai Fan's coats got a lot shinier, too. But who would have thought? Shueiji's situation was even more ridiculous. She didn't rely on eating meat to level up at all. She just laid on the cliff every day, resting her eyes. A faint golden energy swirled around her. The system popped up, saying she was cultivating with a technique from her past life. Her efficiency was even better than my system. She gained 1,000 evolution points in just one day. I wasn't about to lose. I secretly competed with her, frantically hunting for herbs and scarfing them down. But even after stuffing my belly until it ached, I only went up by 500. Shueiji opened her eyes and shot me a look. That gaze clearly screamed, an upstart is still just an upstart. My fur puffed up in anger, but I didn't have a damn thing to say. Bai Yi saw everything and just smiled without a word. Her injuries were mostly healed by now. She started showing the true majesty of a mother tiger. The 3 little cubs were completely well behaved under her discipline. One day, Bai Yi deliberately took the cubs out to sunbathe, leaving just me and Shueiji alone in the valley. I was completely oblivious to this setup. I was still busy burying my head, hunting for herbs. Shueiji was resting with her eyes closed not far away, but the tip of her tail kept subconsciously inching towards me. I looked up at her, and she instantly pulled her tail back. Looking completely cold and acting like nothing had happened, I muttered to myself, "This tigress is acting a bit weird today." But I didn't think much of it, and went back to looking for herbs. But who would have guessed? Deep inside the valley, I stumbled upon a hot spring. The hot spring was steamy, giving off a faint, herbal scent. Right in the middle of the spring grew a glowing spirit mushroom. It was entirely golden, shining so brightly it hurt my eyes. The system started spamming alerts. 9-turn jade spirit mushroom. Upon consumption, unlocks the prerequisite for the shapeshifting function. I was so hyped I almost dove straight into the water. Last time I ate half a stalk, the shapeshifting took 72 hours. If I eat another half this time, I might be able to transform right away. Without a second thought, I jumped into the spring and swam toward the mushroom. The water was perfectly warm. It felt absolutely amazing to soak in. I swam to the center, and reached out my paw to grab the mushroom. But the exact second my paw touched it, boom, the bottom of the hot spring exploded, blasting water everywhere. A massive python, thick as a barrel, shot out from under the water. It was pitch black, with scales glowing blood red. Its 2 fangs were as long as my front legs. The system flashed another warning, Crimson Spirit Python. Level 11, I cursed out loud right then and there. Why is it always a snake? The giant python opened its bloody maw and lunged at me. I dodged sideways, barely avoiding it, but it was incredibly fast in the water. Its tail swept out and whipped me hard. I was sent tumbling through the water. I quickly used purification points to heal my wounds. Right at that moment, Shueiji arrived. Without a second thought, she dove right into the hot spring and slammed her paw right into the python's vital spot. The giant snake thrashed violently in agony. I took the chance to draw its attention from the front, pouncing on its head and beating the crap out of it. Shueiji circled behind the python and tore open the scales on its weak spot with a single swipe, and ripped its gallbladder right out. The python twitched a few times and then went completely dead. System notification: killed the red scale python. Obtained 1,500 evolution points. For killing a higher level enemy. Rewarded an extra 500 evolution points. Current level increased to level 8. I was so exhausted I just slumped by the edge of the hot spring, panting heavily. Shueiji brought the spirit mushroom over in her mouth and tossed it to me. I broke it in half and handed her a piece. She froze for a second. Her eyes were completely shocked. Do you have any idea how precious this is? I know. But hogging it all to myself is boring. Besides, if you get stronger, I'll be much safer too. Shueiji stayed quiet for a long while. For the very first time, a smile broke through her icy expression. Even though it was just a tiny smirk, she was definitely smiling. She muttered softly, "Idiot." Then she took the mushroom and swallowed it down. The 2 of us lay by the hot spring, absorbing the medicine. A surge of boiling energy exploded inside me. System notification: the cooldown for the shapeshifting function has been reset. The next transformation will be in 72 hours. But this time, I gained an extra 2,000 evolution points. Beside me, Shueiji was glowing with golden light too. She had grown another size larger. The glow on her fur turned a pale gold. That night, after eating the spirit mushroom, I entered a deep evolution. My entire body was sealed inside a cocoon of golden light, totally paralyzed. System notification: shapeshifting countdown started, 72 hours. Unable to move or fight during this time, Shueiji offered to stand guard. She took the tiger cub and hid out in the rocky crevices. The first day passed completely peacefully. The second day was perfectly quiet too. But just before dawn on the third day, heavy footsteps suddenly echoed from outside the valley, mixed with the frantic barking of hunting dogs. Poachers, and they had tracked us down with their dogs. Trapped in the golden light, I couldn't move an inch. All I could do was watch helplessly. Shueiji turned back and looked at me. A fierce resolve flashed in her eyes. She turned around and marched out of the valley all alone. Without looking back, without a single hesitation, I desperately tried to break free. But the golden light wouldn't budge. Trapped inside, I was so frantic I started cursing up a storm. Is this crazy tigress trying to get herself killed? Right then, the system flashed a glowing red warning. Detected that the host's partner is fighting the enemy alone. Health points are dropping rapidly. Partner? Who the hell is my partner? Shueiji? That ice-cold tigress? If I don't help her right now, she's really going to die out there. I gritted my teeth and forcefully broke off my evolution. An agonizing pain ripped right through my bones. System warning. Interrupting evolution will cost 1/3 of your evolution points. Certain effects of the shapeshifting function will be permanently lost. I can only switch between full beast and full human. I can't maintain a half-beast form. I don't care anymore. Whatever the cost, so be it. Lives are more important. The golden light fades away. I struggle to my feet, my whole body aching like it's been crushed. My evolution points plummet from over 3,000 straight down to 2,000. My level is still stuck at 8, but the shapeshifting ability is finally unlocked. I sprint out of the valley and see Shui Ji covered in blood. She's desperately fighting off 4 poachers. 2 poachers are already lying dead on the ground, but Shui Ji is on the verge of collapsing. She can barely stand. One of the poachers raises his hunting rifle, aiming right at her head. My mind totally explodes. I trigger the shapeshifting ability for the very first time. My bones crack and reshape. My fur sheds away. My limbs stretch out. Through the smoke, I stand upright. A young, muscular man with long, flowing hair charges out. I smash a punch right into that poacher's chest. The bastard flies 3 meters back, slams into a tree, and passes out cold on the spot. Everyone is completely stunned. The 2 remaining poachers stare at me, eyes wide with terror. They've probably never seen a tiger turn into a human before. Shui Ji freezes too. Her eyes widen in shock, and she mutters under her breath. He successfully shape-shifted in his first form? In my past life. It took me 2 whole years. But I have no time for her nonsense. I snatch up the hunting rifle from the ground. All my military training from my past life comes rushing back. I cock the gun in a flash, aiming it straight at the last 2 poachers. I glare at them, dead cold. The 2 of them are so terrified, they turn and bolt. Stumbling and crawling, they vanish into the dense woods. I toss the rifle aside. I turn around and scoop up the severely wounded Shui Ji. She's drenched in blood. There are several deep gashes across her fur. Awkwardly, I lower my head. Copying how she healed me before, I try to lick her wounds to clean them. Tiger saliva can disinfect and stop the bleeding, right? But after just 2 licks, Shui Ji weakly scolds me. You're in your human form. Doesn't licking me with your tongue feel gross? That's when it finally hits me. I'm a human right now. Not a tiger, a shirtless, grown man, holding a tigress and licking her wounds. Yeah, that is definitely a bit hard to watch. Mortified, I shift back into a tiger and go back to licking her wounds. Shui Ji goes quiet, just keeping her eyes closed. Her breathing gradually evens out. The system notifies me that her health has stopped dropping. I let out a massive sigh of relief and lay down beside her. Once Shui Ji recovers a bit of strength, I start cleaning up the battlefield. 2 poachers are dead, and 2 ran away. On one of the bodies, I find a map. It's marked with multiple target spots across this forest. There are wolf dens, bear caves, and tiger lairs. One of the locations is circled with a red skull, with a note scribbled next to it, Tiger King's Lair. Bounty, 500,000, 500 grand. These scumbags actually have the nerve. Shui Ji leans over to take a look. Her pupils instantly shrink. That usually icy cold face of hers completely changes. She whispered. I was stunned. Her past life's lair? Wait, isn't that the territory of the White Tiger Empress? Someone is pulling the strings behind these poachers. Normal folks would never dare target a Tiger King. And that skull mark, I've seen it before. Right before I died in my past life, the very last thing I saw was exactly this mark. A cold chill ran down my spine. The poachers are just pawns. There's someone else behind all this. No, maybe not even human. Shui Ji stared at the map, silent for a long time. A flash of fear crossed her eyes. It was a look I'd never seen on her before. Not even when we faced that giant lizard or the python. I asked her, that mark, what exactly is it? She only said one word, enemies. Then she turned and walked back to the valley, leaving me, a lone tiger, standing right there. Staring blankly at the skull on that map. The true enemy had finally surfaced. But just knowing they exist isn't enough. We have to drag these bastards out into the light. Shui Ji and I decided to go on the offensive, tracking them down using the clues on the map. We slipped through the dense forest, and crossed over 2 mountain peaks. Until we reached an abandoned mine at the edge of the woods. Rusty mining equipment was piled up at the entrance. but a dim yellow light spilled out from inside, along with the sound of people talking. Shuiji and I quietly sneaked in, hiding in the shadows of the mine shaft to take a look. This wasn't some abandoned mine at all. It was clearly an underground wildlife smuggling den. Several rare animals were locked up in iron cages. There were golden monkeys, pangolins, and even a little silver leopard. A poacher in camo was counting the goods, while 3 men in suits stood nearby. One look and you could tell those 3 were the buyers, all dressed up in sharp suits. Completely out of place in this rundown mine. I pricked up my ears and used the system to eavesdrop on their conversation. That bald buyer was haggling with the poacher boss. The Myriad Beast Group is very interested in the white tiger's skeleton. The bounty has gone up from 500,000 to 800,000. My heart pounded heavily. Myriad Beast Group? The system suddenly popped up an alert. Suspected foreign syndicate, specializes in acquiring live rare animals, pelts, and skeletons. Particularly interested in beasts possessing special energy. The skeleton of the White Tiger Empress from Shuiji's past life was rumored to hold the energy of the ancient White Tiger bloodline. No wonder they put out such a massive bounty for the Tiger King's lair. I was completely engrossed in listening, just as we were about to pull back. Someone suddenly stepped out from deep within the mine. The man was wearing a gray Taoist robe, with a black badge pinned to his chest, and engraved right on that badge was a skull. It was exactly like the mark on our map. Suddenly, the system blared a piercing alarm. Warning, Myriad Beast System Holder detected. Level 15, Hostile Faction. Target can level up by devouring the souls of rare animals. I was completely dumbfounded. Level 15? I'm only level 8, how the hell am I supposed to fight that? The Taoist seemed to sense something, casting a sharp glance toward the shaft where we were hiding. A creepy smile crept onto his lips. Well, 2 little kittens who've gained sentience. Perfect timing. My formation is still short 2 sacrifices. Without a second thought, I grabbed Shuiji in my jaws and bolted. The priest chased after us, taking his sweet time. With a wave of his hand, he tossed out several black talismans that exploded mid-air, turning into dark chains that lashed out at us. One of them snaked around my hind leg, while another shot straight for Shuiji's neck. I thrashed wildly, burning through my evolution points to violently tear myself free. But the chains had already snagged Shuiji's front leg. She snapped the link in one bite. That split-second delay was all it took. The priest whipped out 3 more talismans. This time, a massive, dense web of chains erupted. Shuiji spun around, throwing herself in front of me, taking the brunt of the chains so I could get away. I glanced back. The dark iron was biting into her flesh, making her bleed. Her eyes practically screamed at me, "Leave me. Run." My blood boiled. I wanted to charge right back in. But the system flashed a massive warning. Opponent's level is overwhelmingly high. Forcing an engagement means certain death. Gritting my teeth, I turned and ran like hell. The priest's sinister laughter chased me, while Shuiji's agonizing cries echoed through the mine shaft. I didn't stop until I reached the valley. I was bruised, battered, and so exhausted I collapsed, gasping for air. About an hour later, Shuiji stumbled back into the valley too. She was absolutely drenched in blood. The chains had gouged deep, nasty trenches into her fur. She was limping heavily with every step. She panted that the sicko didn't go for the kill, he just wanted live sacrifices. She had managed to snap the chains and escape the second he got distracted. I rushed over to lick her wounds, pouring my evolution points into healing her. The system noted her health was slowly ticking back up. Once she was finally stable, I opened the system shop and noticed the unlock progress for that wing icon had shifted. It jumped from 1% to 30%, and the unlock requirement was finally revealed. Kill the host of the Beastmaster system. My blood ran cold. They want me to kill that level 15 priest? Are they out of their freaking minds? Then, another system alert popped up. The target system upgrades by absorbing the energy of similar systems. Simply put, he was hunting us too. A violent shiver shot down my spine. This was a brutal, kill or be killed deathmatch. Either I slaughter him to level up, or he butchers me for my energy. Level 8 versus level 15? The power gap was insane. But little did I know, the real nightmare was just beginning. Up on the distant peak, a silhouette appeared. His gray robes were unmistakable in the moonlight. The priest stood there holding a compass, pointing it dead center at our valley. I saw that twisted, psychotic smirk creep across his face as he mouthed the words. Found you. Every single hair on my body stood on end. The scum had tracked us down already. I rushed to shove Baya and the 3 cubs into the hidden waterway, telling them to evacuate through the underground river. Baya hesitated for a split second, but grabbed the kids and fled. Shuiji and I took our stance at the valley entrance, ready for a bloodbath. The priest had brought 5 poachers with him, totally surrounding the area. Every last one of them had a hunting rifle aimed right at us, looking for a slaughter. I forced myself to stay calm, scanning the terrain until a plan clicked in my head. The entrance was super narrow, barely wide enough for 2 people to walk side by side. I set up a few traps in the rocky crevices on both sides, covering them up perfectly with branches and dead leaves. For the first wave of the attack, I shifted into my human form and charged right out. Bare-chested, I lunged at the poachers through the thick smoke. They were terrified and scrambled in total panic. They fired off a few shots, but completely missed. Then, Shuiji launched a vicious sneak attack from the flank. She smacked one down with a single swipe, while I knocked another out cold with one punch. 2 poachers were instantly taken out of the fight. The rest of them stumbled backward in pure fear. The Taoist priest let out a cold sneer, and casually pulled out several black talismans. The talismans hit the ground and exploded, instantly morphing into a massive cloud of black mist. The dark fog quickly swallowed up the entire valley. Suddenly, a system notification popped up. Beast trap formation. Speed and strength of all beast-type targets within range, reduced by 30%. Instantly, my whole body felt unbearably heavy, like I was carrying massive boulders on my back. My limbs went completely weak. I could barely even stay on my feet. Shuiji was trembling uncontrollably too, the radiant golden glow on her fur quickly fading away. The priest swaggered toward us with a smug grin. Well, 2 little kittens. Just be good little sacrifices. I gritted my teeth in intense rage. A fierce wave of defiance surged in my chest. Right behind me was the escape route for White Knight and the cubs. And beside me was Shuiji, covered in brutal wounds. I absolutely cannot fall here. Intense emotional fluctuations detected from host. Hidden condition triggered. Heart of the Guardian. New skill unlocked. Azure Flame Possession. Cost: 500 evolution points. Grants complete immunity to all negative status effects. Duration: 3 minutes. Do you wish to activate? Without a single second of hesitation, I activated it. The very next moment, blinding white flames erupted all over my body. The black mist scattered instantly, like it had met its absolute worst nightmare. The beast trap formation was violently ripped open by the raging flames. Explosive, raw power surged through my veins. With just one heavy strike, I completely shattered the priest's remaining magic formations. He stumbled backward in pure terror, screaming wildly. That's impossible. You've only evolved a few times. How the hell do you have this kind of power? But I didn't have time for his garbage. The 3-minute countdown was already ticking. I launched myself straight at those 3 remaining poachers. In this azure flame state, my speed was absolutely insane. Bam, bam, bam. I took them all down in under 3 seconds. 5 lifeless bodies now lay in the dirt. Only the priest was left standing. He was totally panicking now, desperately yanking out every single talisman he had left. He released every last drop of energy hoarded by his system. The dark energy violently twisted and merged, forming a massive, pitch-black tiger. It was easily 3 times my size. It threw its massive, bloodthirsty jaw wide open and viciously lunged right at me. I didn't even flinch. I charged head-on, my white flames smashing violently into the dark beast. Boom! The explosion completely flattened half the valley. Rocks and debris blasted everywhere. The air was choked with blinding dust. When the thick smoke finally cleared, I stood there completely covered in blood, but my blazing white flames were still burning fierce. The priest had collapsed to his knees, the magical badge on his chest completely shattered into pieces. His system panel literally exploded into glowing fragments right in front of his face. He violently coughed up a mouthful of blood. His eyes went completely dead and hollow. I slowly walked over to him. With one ruthless strike, I ended him for good. The system alarms started ringing like crazy. Hostile system wielder eliminated. Reward: 5,000 evolution points. Higher level target defeated. Bonus reward: 2,000 evolution points. System store fully unlocked. Reward: 3 shapeshifting pills. 1 bloodline purification stone, 1 teleportation talisman, current level, upgraded to level 11. I collapsed on the ground, panting heavily. The pale flames slowly died out. My whole body ached like it was falling apart. Spending evolution points to heal my wounds cost me 800 points, but I still had over 6,000 left. Talk about a huge haul. Shuiji walked over to check on my injuries. She was trembling all over, her eyes filled with lingering fear. I was just feeling smug and getting ready to count my loot, when the system suddenly popped up a notification I'd never seen before. Main quest updated. The Awakening of the Hydra Emperor. Universal level threat detected awakening. Estimated countdown, 180 days. Quest reward, Genesis Tiger God Bloodline. Wait, isn't that my ultimate evolution goal? Shuiji leaned in for a look. Her whole body stiffened, and her pupils shrank in horror. The Hydra Emperor. He's the one who killed me in my past life. But he was clearly heavily injured and in a deep sleep back then. How could he wake up so soon? I looked at her terrified eyes, and my heart sank. Something even Shuiji couldn't beat in her past life is waking up in just 180 days. I'm only level 11, would I even be enough to get stuck in his teeth? A streak of blood-red lightning flashed across the distant sky, and a weird, sickly sweet smell of blood filled the air. Something was waking up, and we were running out of time. 180 days isn't exactly a long time, but it isn't short either. I went crazy hunting every day to hoard evolution points. There was a lot of good stuff in the system shop, but the prices were terrifyingly high. That wing icon alone cost 50,000 points. I only had a little over 6,000 right now. I had to find a way to level up fast. But who would have thought? Shuiji gave me a massive surprise. In the memories of my past life, there are a few spirit veins. The plants and animals around these spirit veins are all packed with energy. I followed her to the first spirit vein. It was a cave hidden deep inside a mountain. The cave walls were covered in glowing moss. The system chimed in. Spirit vein discovered. Evolution point acquisition speed increased by 3 times. I went absolutely crazy with joy right then and there. 3 times the speed, those 50,000 points weren't just a pipe dream anymore. I cultivated and ate in the spirit vein every day, and Shuiji also used her techniques to speed up her growth. In just one short month, my level shot up from 11 to 15. Shuiji also reached level 14. Bai Yi and the 3 little cubs were getting physically stronger and stronger. That goofy Bai Yu actually awakened a skill first. One swipe of his paw could unleash a wind blade. Bai Ming and Bai Fan weren't about to be outdone, either. One of them awakened hardened fur. Looks like all those herbs I fed them weren't wasted after all. By the second month, I used the system shop to exchange for shapeshifting pills. I got 3 pills in total, and each one cost 1,000 evolution points. The cost hurt so much I was twitching, but I bought them anyway. After Bai Yi swallowed the shapeshifting pill, her whole body was engulfed in a glowing golden light. Her bones reshaped, and her fur faded away. She transformed into a gentle middle-aged woman with long, pitch-black hair. Her eyes were filled with maternal warmth. For the first time, she was walking on 2 legs. She took quite a few tumbles. I held her, helping her slowly get used to it. She stared at her own hands, completely stunned, and muttered to herself. So, this is what humans look like. Next, I gave the shape-shifting pills to Bai Ming and Bai Fan. Bai Ming transformed into a delicate young girl. With flowing black hair, she was super introverted. She didn't talk much at all. Bai Fan, on the other hand, turned into a strong, athletic girl. With well-toned muscles, she had a really honest and good-natured personality. Finally, it was that little fool, Bai Yu's turn. After she swallowed her pill, she morphed into this incredibly quirky girl, rocking 2 little braids. Her eyes were just darting everywhere. Shuiji, though, didn't need any pill. She managed to transform all on her own through sheer cultivation. That day, her whole body erupted in a blinding golden light. Her fur faded away, revealing snow-white skin and long, flowing silver hair that cascaded all the way down to her waist. Her features were breathtakingly cold and gorgeous, radiating absolute royalty. Standing there in the moonlight, she looked exactly like a goddess descending from the heavens. I was completely starstruck on the spot. She shot me an icy glare. That look, it was exactly the same as when she was a tiger. I quickly looked away, terrified she was gonna smack me. But who could have guessed? The days that followed were pure torture. That little fool Bai Yu stuck to me all day, asking a million questions. Bai Yu was busy taking care of the 3 shape-shifted kids, while Shui Ji and I went to the spirit vein to train every single day. Our feelings grew stronger without us even realizing it. One time, while I was training in the spirit vein, I got so tired I passed out on a rock. When I woke up, I found Shui Ji's fur draped over me. She was crouching in the corner completely naked, making a fire, roasting a fish just like she used to in her tiger form. I froze and asked her, "Your fur, why is it on me? I was afraid you'd freeze to death. And then I'd have no one to fight." I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I handed the fur back to her. She took it and draped it over her shoulders. Her silhouette looked incredibly beautiful in the firelight. On another full moon night, Shui Ji and I were sitting on the mountain peak, watching the moon. For once, she actually spoke up first. "In my past life, I died completely alone. I lived for 1,000 years. But I didn't even have a single person to talk to." I looked at her side profile. My heart melted. I leaned right in and gently nudged her cheek with my nose. She froze, her face flushing bright red all the way to her ears. She opened her mouth to scold me, but couldn't find the words. Meanwhile, that white tail of hers, unconsciously wrapped right around my tail. We sat there in silence, watching the moon for the rest of the night. Neither of us said another word, but it meant more than anything we could have said. Days went by. The 180-day countdown was drawing closer and closer. I trained like crazy, pushing my level all the way up to 18. Shui Ji also reached level 17. The wings in the system shop finally unlocked. I spent 50,000 points to redeem them. The pale flame wings stretched out to a massive 5 meters across, blazing with pale white flames. I took a deep breath and tried taking to the sky. I almost crashed into a tree. I fell so many times before I finally figured out how to control it. 3 months later, the 9-headed serpent emperor awakened. On that day, the sky and earth changed colors, and dark storm clouds rolled in. 9 massive snake heads emerged from the clouds, each with eyes of a completely different color. Fiery red, icy blue, thunder purple, poison green, wind cyan, earth yellow, light white, metal black, space silver. The system popped up a warning. Universal level danger, threat level, immeasurable, recommendation, evacuate immediately. I had Bai Yi take the 3 kids to hide inside the formation. The 4 of them were in charge of setting up the support arrays, while Shui Ji and I took the enemy head on. I spread my azure flame wings and soared into the clouds. Shui Ji followed closely behind, her whole body blazing with golden light. The Serpent Emperor's 9 heads unleashed their attacks at us all at once. Fireballs, ice spikes, lightning, and venom blotted out the sky. I dodged left and right, shielding myself with azure flames. After tanking a few waves of attacks, Shui Ji lunged at the firehead from the flank. She tore through its scales with a single palm strike, making the snakehead thrash and spew fire in agony. I took the chance to dive at the icehead, melting its frost armor with my azure flames. But the Serpent Emperor had 9 heads after all, and their flawless teamwork was a massive headache. I got struck by the lightning head and plummeted from the sky. I crashed into the ground, smashing out a huge crater. Shui Ji was also forced back by the venom spewed from the poison head. I scrambled up and spent evolution points to heal my wounds, thinking to myself that fighting recklessly wasn't going to work. We had to take out its most troublesome heads first. I redeemed a space lockdown talisman from the system shop. It cost me 2,000 evolution points. It hurt like hell to spend that much. But I couldn't worry about that now. I shot back up into the clouds. Catching a gap between the 9 heads' attacks, I slapped the talisman right onto the space head. The space head was instantly bound by golden chains, completely stripping away its teleportation abilities. Shui Ji understood my plan immediately and unleashed her earth might. The golden light around her turned into a crushing pressure that locked down the other snakeheads. Serpent Emperor's movements visibly slowed down. Down below, Bai Yi and the 3 kids activated the array. Z Yu's sharp blades slashed at the lightning head, while Z Ming's frost froze the poison head solid. Bai Fan's hardened fur blocked the boulders from the earth head, and Bai Yi's array boosted all of us on the battlefield. Our entire family was working together flawlessly, but the Serpent Emperor was simply too strong. His remaining heads erupted all at once. The fire head spewed heat as scorching as the sun. The light head blasted a blinding beam, and the dark head unleashed an all-consuming darkness. The beam swept across my left side, leaving my body charred black. Shui Ji was swallowed by the darkness, desperately struggling to crawl her way out. She was covered in blood, her fur completely burned. I gritted my teeth and burned evolution points to heal, but my points were already bottoming out. I went from over 6,000 down to a measly 500. The Serpent Emperor hissed at me mockingly. A pathetic little kitten relying on a system, daring to make an enemy of the Universal Lord? Just laughed, flashing my bloodstained fangs, and spat back at him. You forgot one little thing. My freaking system is called the Foodie to Godhood system, and my evolution has no limits. Right then, the system popped up its final prompt. Final evolution conditions met. Genesis Tiger God. Proceed with evolution? Warning. Evolving will consume all system accumulations. The system will permanently disappear. I hit confirm without a second of hesitation. The next second, my azure flames shifted from purple to blinding gold. Golden flames erupted from within me, my body expanding until it blotted out the entire sky. My wings spread out, stretching over 100 meters long, as my entire coat turned to pure gold. An ancient tiger mark glowed upon my forehead. Then, the system chimed in. Evolution successful. Current tier. God tier. I looked down at the Serpent King. For the very first time, absolute terror filled his 9 heads. I slammed my mighty paw down. My golden claws violently ripped apart his fire, ice, and lightning heads. The Serpent King thrashed around in pure agony. His remaining 6 heads lunged right at me. Shui Ji poured every last drop of her power into me. She turned into a brilliant beam of golden light, shooting straight into my body. Our powers fused perfectly, erupting into a massive pillar of gold that pierced the very heavens. I burst out of the light, ruthlessly shredding his heads, one by one. Only the spatial head was left, desperately thrashing. With his dying breath, the Serpent King roared out in fury. Just what? What exactly are you two to each other? I shifted back to my true form, wrapping my arms around an equally exhausted Shui Ji. Looking down at his lifeless body, I simply answered, husband and wife. His final head completely shattered, exploding into a rain of blood before fading into nothingness. The 9-headed Serpent King was finally dead. Then, the system popped up one very last time. Host has fulfilled their destiny. From a mere glutton to a true god, system missions are now terminated. I wish you and your partner eternal freedom across all the realms. And just like that, the system interface shattered into tiny specks of light, vanishing forever. Those familiar little chimes in my head were gone for good. I felt a sudden, strange emptiness inside. Shui Ji leaned softly against my chest. Completely drained of energy, she looked up into my eyes and whispered, "Do you regret it? The system is gone. You can't keep evolving anymore." I just pulled her in tight. Having you right here with me is better than all the power in the world. The corners of Shui Ji's lips curled up. A rare, beautiful smile bloomed on her usually icy face. Then tonight, take your human form, and come gaze at the moon with me. Just staring at the moon is so boring. How about I teach you how humans actually get romantic instead? Shui Ji flushed completely red, right down to the tips of her ears. Wham! She punched me a good 8 meters away. I just dusted myself off and crawled right back, scooped her right up into my arms, and marched straight into the house. She squirmed for a second, then gave in and let me hold her. Burying her blushing face into my chest, she whispered something so softly that only I could hear it. Off in the distance, that idiot Bai Yu started whistling and cheering at us. Bai Yi just let out a heavy, helpless sigh. Bai Ming and Bai Fan quickly covered their eyes, pretending they hadn't seen a single thing. 3 months later, a peaceful little village had been built right in the valley. Bai Yi stepped up as the village chief, keeping all the shape-shifting animals perfectly in line. Bai Yi spent all his time outside stirring up trouble, while Bai Ming preferred to just read in peace. Bai Fan handled all the heavy lifting around the village. Meanwhile, Shui Ji and I sat side by side at the very peak of the mountain. We watched the sunset together, its warm glow turning her beautiful silver hair into shining gold. She looked as breathtakingly beautiful as a painting. I turned my head, just quietly staring at her. Feeling my gaze upon her, she slowly turned to look right back at me. We just stayed exactly like that, locking eyes. Neither of us needed to say a single word, but that silence meant more than words ever could. The evening breeze gently rustled through the mountain woods. A miserable scream from Zaoi echoed in the distance. He probably caused trouble again, and is getting taught a lesson by Baya. I just smiled and shook my head. Shuiji rested her head on my shoulder. This life started off as a frail little beast, fighting my way through all the bloodshed to get to where I am today, with my family and my partner right here by my side. It was totally worth it. As for the road ahead,